Welcome back to another episode of Rhinestones and Rants. I am your host, Alyssa Better, and today we are diving deep into a topic that I know is on the minds of so many dancers and parents. How to take your passion for dance from high school to college, and what does it take to truly succeed? Whether you're a dancer crushing it in the competitive scene, training at a studio, or just dreaming of continuing your dance journey at the next level, today's episode is going to give you an inside look at one of the top college dance programs out there. Joining me today is Joseph Alter, a cornerstone of the dance department at San Diego University, also known as SDSU, where he has been a coordinator, advisor, and full professor of the dance faculty, where he works directly with students in both their B.F.A and B.A dance tracks. Today, he is going to share everything from how to prep during high school for a dance track in college, what the SDSU audition process looks like, the biggest mistakes that dancers make when applying, and even what life after dance degree can hold. We are going to tackle some of the biggest misconceptions about transitioning from studio dance into a college program and what both students and parents really need to know before making that huge leap. So grab a notebook because this episode is packed with actionable advice, insider tips, honest truths about the college dance world and beyond. So hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, share the love, and let's sashay into it. Welcome to Rhinestones and Rants, where the glitz of the dance world meets the real talk of industry, and a dance mom who lived it every day. This podcast isn't just about perfect pirouettes and dazzling costumes. It's about the raw, unfiltered journey of raising dancers, navigating the competitive scene, and balancing the chaos of life beyond the studio. So grab your coffee or wine, adjust that messy bun, and join me and special guests for a little bit of rhinestone-covered realness. Click that like button below, subscribe, and let's get into it. So welcome, Joe. It is so wonderful to have you as part of this podcast, and welcome to the Rhinestones and Rants family. Many of you know my daughter attends San Diego State as a dance major. She's getting her B.F.A in dance, and I had the great privilege of meeting you, I think it's 2 years ago now, when Joelle was actually auditioning for the dance program at SDSU, and she had gone on lots of different auditions, gratefully got into many programs, but there was something really outstanding about San Diego State between the faculty and you while she was in that audition room. So I think before we get into really anything, it's important that everybody knows who you are, what your dance background is, how you first got started in dance, and more importantly, your journey at SDSU.
Well, I could go way back because I come from a family of dancers. My mom was a dancer, and after she had some kids, we ended up rather than put us in daycare or anything, we'd just be taken to the studio. So my older sister was the one I thought was going to make it, but she's most talented, but didn't want to do it.
But you loved it.
Yeah, well, I felt it was a challenge. I was very athletic as a kid. I played baseball and football through high school and soccer, and did quite well at them. But there were two factors. One was the physicality of dance that I liked, and the other was there were girls there.
That all of a sudden tells a story. And you're not the first person that actually says that. I recently did an interview with parents of a boy, a really great dancer, and we were talking about what it's like raising a boy in the industry, and boys go into dance for many different reasons. How old were you when you started dance?
Oh, well, I remember being, the most recent thing I can remember was being in a recital from my mom's studio and having this straw boater on and a red and white striped jacket and doing the coffee grinders and all that. But then something rather unfortunate happened. It was my pants fell down.
On stage?
On stage, yeah.
Oh, that's a memorable moment.
Yeah, so I was in Little League, played Little League from then on, and baseball and football. And then it didn't actually come back to dance until I was in high school.
You're lucky there wasn't social media because you would have definitely gone viral on that one, for sure.
Well, I'm not sure anybody would be that interested, and anyone that would be considered questionable. But
so funny.
Yeah, so I started again in high school, and I would literally run from, like, I was the captain of the soccer team, and I would run from practice to rehearsal.
Love that,
Yeah.
actually. That shows that I always say when dance is in your veins, it doesn't, it's like riding a bike. It stays in your veins. You either have it or you don't. It doesn't leave you. And you can always tell people that have it in their veins. It's this next level. You see it in their movement, you see it in their passion. And it's sort of like anything. When you have passion for something, um, the sky's the limit. You can do things mechanically, but when you have passion, it's definitely next level. So, how did you go from dancing in high school? Did you do any kind of performance level, or did you just go right into teaching? And
Oh no, after high school, I actually initially was going to school to be. My grandfather was a lawyer. He thought I should be a lawyer. My dad thought I should be a lawyer, and so I went in thinking pre-law and took some dance classes, and very quickly the pre-law went away. And as a male, we tend to get hired
mm,
probably before we're ready. So I was already, I was in college, so I decided to get a dance degree. They didn't really have a program. They had dance classes, but not a program. So a woman actually from San Jose State University named Janet Van Swall actually saw me in a performance and said, "You should come to San Jose State." So I transferred there,
just like that,
just like
poof,
that.
done.
And, I was, it's hard to say how serious I was at first. It was just something I determined that I was going to do until I got better at it. And I always loved dancing. Like I was the kid that would bring the 45 records during the dance things during lunch hour at school. Like I loved just dancing, and
Love
I've
that.
always loved music. So that was a big part of it.
What did your parents think of it?
Well, my mom loved it. My dad, wasn't.
Similar to most dads,
Yeah, yeah. He thought, well, you should be a lawyer.
right?
In fact, I've got a story about my dad not coming to see me perform for years and years, and finally I got very like, you got to come, and he finally did. And as I was, leaving backstage, he says, "Well, I guess you're probably a better dancer than you would have been a lawyer."
Oh, that's
So
nice, though. I have chills. That was
yeah.
nice. That was really nice.
So I,
Tessie.
I, I wasn't dissuaded from it. I just wasn't so much encouraged to do it. But it was, for a kid from a very large family, it was a way of being unique. It played right into my love of physicality and music, and frankly, it's not something every guy does. So I felt a little bit special because I did it.
And more guys today do it than even if I go back 10 years, 20 years. Like it was a very anomaly. Like even 7 years ago, they didn't even have men dressing rooms when you would go to competitive dance. Like the girls had dressing rooms, but the boys didn't. And that has completely evolved. And you're seeing more, but you're right. It's still a female dominated industry unless you go into, I think when you go to Broadway or New York, you see a lot more male dancers than you would because LA is so spread out. But
Well, in New York, what you have is a critical mass. Like everybody goes there, but
dance.
but the people that go there are the ones that are most motivated. They're not the ones that are going to settle for musical theater at your local Civic Light Opera. They have a certain ambition, both the men and women. So you just get a critical mass of people. It's a little bit like, if you look at Juilliard as a school,
Mm-hmm.
it's like they're the kind of, they get the number one draft picks every time because it's such a prestigious school. It's such a center for dance that New York is. So the level of the students that they generally get are higher than the level of some of the state schools you'd see, for example, simply because they have that kind of
Well, it's like
prestige.
Harvard versus, I'm not even going
Any
to call
other
out another
school.
school, right? Like people automatically think they hear Harvard or Yale, and that's the creme of the creme. It really depends what you're going to school for, right? And where you see yourself. And not everybody that gets into Harvard loves Harvard, and vice versa. Like everybody has to find their path when they go to school. I'm curious, in your 4-year program or 2 years, that you were at San Jose for how long?
Well, only for about a year and a half. I actually got a job dancing and dropped out. I dropped out
Oh,
of college. I would be, as a professor of dance now, I'm actually in contact with the woman that asked me to transfer there. And the notion that I would have been a professor of dance was something that she found quite comical. I was a cautionary tale. I only wanted to dance. I didn't go to any of my other classes, and I started getting work outside of school.
That's what happens.
So I moved to San Francisco because I'd been offered a job dancing with something called the San Francisco Jazz Dance Company. They're no longer a viable company, but they were, we did some state level touring and it was concert jazz and it was fun. And I learned a lot about being on stage and, it was just, I think for me, there was this thing where I wanted to be, the first thing I ever saw that I just fell in love with was West Side Story. So that was the kind of thing that I was geared towards. And then, jazz. And then there was a period where I was dancing in a regional ballet company.
Amazing.
But I'd gotten such a late start with regard to ballet. And I just, even though I have the right body proportions for it, I didn't have the right flexibility for it.
Got it.
But I did manage to, get into the regional thing. And then I saw a company at the War Memorial Opera House in San Francisco called the Paul Taylor Dance Company. And I saw these huge dudes flying through space. And I thought that would be really fun to do. So I started shifting my focus of dance into more modern, postmodern stuff because it didn't feel as bound. Like it felt like there was more freedom. It clearly didn't follow the same rules.
That's what I love so much about dance. I think that dance, there's so many different paths and there's so many different avenues. And I did an episode a few weeks ago back on that dreaded question, what's next? Like everybody says, oh, she's majoring in dance, or, oh, you're spending all this money on dance. Like, why? Like, what are they going to do with it? And it's crazy to me. And we did a full episode. I probably could have done 5 episodes on it because there are so many different pathways to dance. So bringing it like after your performance, how did we go from performance to becoming a professor of dance?
Kids. I had kids.
Okay.
And I was running a dance company in Warsaw, Poland, and traveling all over East Central and Western Europe with my company and also to teach. And, my second daughter was born, and I thought, I'm not going to be an absentee father. And if running a company and all that it takes to do that was going to keep me traveling all the time, it was just not something, I didn't have it in me. I wanted to be with my kids. I wanted to be a father also. So academia, actually becoming a professor, was a bit of a compromise for me because I did love running the company and I was doing well. I had lots of work and the company was performing a lot, but, it just seemed like the right thing to do. And, being in academia, I still do a lot of commissions. I'm still choreographing internationally.
Oh, amazing.
So it's not something, there was a point in the last, I think about a year and a half ago, I had 3 pieces being performed in 3 different countries.
I love that. And my daughter gets to be under you at San Diego State with all of the other incredible faculty that are there. Can you describe to everybody, just in case people have a question about it, what is the difference between a B.F.A. and a B.A.?
B.A. is considered a liberal arts degree. It's a generalist degree. There's nothing. It's a great degree, but oftentimes people want to double major. A B.F.A., you're just in the studio more. There's 132 units in a B.F.A. and 120 units in a B.A. B.F.A. is considered a professional degree. The requirements are different, and the amount of time in the practice of dance in the studios is greater. Like I myself, my undergraduate degree when I finished it was a BA, and then I got an MFA from the Ohio State University.
Oh, good.
So
yeah, that's another So maybe you could expand a little bit on an MFA if people are questioning that, like that's next level master's,
Yeah, Master of Fine
fine
Arts.
arts.
That you can right now. There's MA in dance, an MFA in dance, and now they've gone. A number of PhD programs have opened in the
Fantastic.
last number of years. Those are, those are for people that are generally. Nobody gets a PhD in dance unless they're going to teach in academia.
Got it.
The time investment is just different. Um, yeah, so the BA, it's not a lesser degree, it's a different degree. We often have students double major from that degree. They have more flexibility within the way we've designed the BA in our curriculum so that their particular area of interest they have more access to. The B.F.A is a little bit more prescribed because we want to make sure that if you're leaving with the B.F.A, you've had all of these classes.
So let's go there for a minute. Regarding SDSU's dance program, we, like I said, auditioned at many different
Mhm.
universities for the different dance programs, and they were all different in their own right. But if we're talking about SDSU, can you describe a little bit about the dance program there? Because I found it extremely different. So I think hearing it from you, I think hearing it from you would be best for anybody who is listening.
Well, I think it's easy. The place to start is at the audition.
Yes.
A lot of places are looking at very traditional skill sets. So they're going to give them a ballet bar. They're going to give them some kind of modern movement phrase. And, you'll sit there and the faculty are generally, there's somebody demonstrating, and then you've got people sitting down and they're writing notes. Ours is actually a little bit different in that we are looking at it as the students are also auditioning us to see if what we're looking for is fit. And a lot of these students, they're very skilled when they get there, but they haven't found their voice as an artist, as a dancer. They've been told what to do and how to do it.
From studio dance.
From studio dance.
Yes.
And that's actually a good skill to have. But the thing that's going to allow you to really flourish in this industry, whether it's in the commercial end or the concert dance end, is your ability to articulate that thing that makes why should I hire you when 99 other people do exactly the same thing? So in cultivating our students' voices and really helping them develop critical thinking with their whole body and problem solving with their whole bodies, their voices start to emerge, and we really encourage that because they're going to hire you because of what you bring to it, not just because you can do what they want.
So is that what you're looking for so I'm sure there are a lot of people that are going to be listening to this, and we're gearing up for August. Let's say we're coming close to the August timeframe where people are like, okay, I'm going to start applying to schools. Applications are due November, December, January, depending, and that's a whole thing in itself. And the normal college process, I went through it with my son who was applying just academics, no B.F.A or anything. He applied, Common App, put everything in, did his essay, done. But when you're going for a B.F.A or you're going more specific, whether it's dance or sport, or in this case in dance, every school has differences of what you need to put in your application. There are separate essays. Some people want a video of you dancing. Maybe it's modern, maybe it's ballet, maybe it's jazz, depending on the program. Maybe it's all three. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that application process looks like for SDSU?
Well, first of all, they apply to the university, and San Diego State has become one of the sort of magnet schools within the California State school system, the CSU. And if they pass their audition or apply, then they are eligible. Then they fill out an audition form. During that audition, we find out how permeable they are. They have to have a basic set of skills, but we're not looking for the absolute most technical in traditional terms, but people that are, what do they have? What are they bringing? Do they love to dance?
Passion.
Like, do they really love it? And, other things. But then also we put them through a creative process where, for example, most schools will, oftentimes other universities will ask them to bring a solo. or submit a video solo.
Yes.
We ask them to bring their solo, but then use it to work in a group choreographic composition that is facilitated by one of the faculty. So the dancers get to use their material, but they have to use it differently than they expected. And that shows us a lot of information about how they think on their feet. You have your SATs and your AC, these things
Yes.
that they take to go to college, but none of those measure kinesthetic intelligence. They don't measure problem-solving abilities. They're looking for answers. And so the audition really is kind of the SAT for dance programs. It gives us a chance to see what their kinesthetic intelligence is, and how they, who they are. And we're very transparent about what we are, so that if they're making an informed choice.
What do you believe the core mission or the mission statement would be of the SDSU dance department?
We actually have one on the website, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to repeat it verbatim. But we have 4 pillars. One is relate, one is articulate, one is manifest. We want students who are cultivating their sense of presence, being able to be present. And we are looking not to form them into what a vision we have for them, but to help them develop the capacity to develop self-authoring careers.
And I think that's what stood out. I mean, that exact statement that you just made, I think that stood out to myself and to Joelle when she was going through the audition process. Like, at first she had heard different things about the dance department. She had heard, it's a weird audition. It's something you've never experienced before. And she had gone to so many other auditions. So she really didn't know what to expect when she went in. It was not full transparency. It wasn't top of her radar when she went in. But when she came out, it was number 1 school. That's where she wanted to go. There was no ands, ifs, or buts. And I think that's an important thing for anybody listening when applying to schools. I love the fact that what you said was that it's an equal audition process. It's not just the person auditioning to get into the program. It's also you auditioning yourselves to see if it's a good fit for the actual dancer. And I think sometimes schools miss that, whether it's popularity or, like you said, the quintessential, Harvard of dance. And there's lots of different programs like that. But I felt that when she came out, it was that spiritual connection that she had to dance. And I think there's a spirituality in every dancer to be able to feel the music, movement. And it was something I think was lacking in her training. And that was something that she magnetized to in the audition process. But regardless of who the student is, regardless of what school they're auditioning for, I think that dancers should really think about, when they're meeting these teachers, is that somebody that they could see themselves spending a lot of time with? Because for the next 4 years of your life, you're going to be spending a lot of time with these people. Can you see it? It's sort of like, do the visionary board. And can you envision yourself working with these people? And if you think somebody isn't magnetized to you, or you can't see it, it doesn't matter what the program is. Right?
Yeah. There is the phenomenon with young people, though. For example, my youngest daughter, she had it in her head that she wanted to go to school X, Y, or Z. And she got into it, and she went to it, and she got there and realized that wasn't the place for her.
Happens
it was
a
the
lot.
name. The prestige. And a lot of, let's face it, young people and even adults, they're looking for validation. And to be accepted by a major school that is widely regarded is validating.
Yes.
It may not, but it also may not be the right fit, right? Our program is actually, strangely, we just graduated the largest number of graduates that we've ever done.
How many did you graduate?
24.
That's unbelievable. And I went to the end of year program that they all put on, and it was phenomenal. It was so incredible to. They do, what is it called? The end of the year it's their
called
capstone.
Yeah, capstone performances, and there's also something called Performance Forum.
Right. So they choreograph, they pick their own dancers, they audition, the lighting from beginning to end. That's like their major.
Right. This is basically their thesis for the B.F.A students. It's called Capstone, and they are responsible for producing a performance. Now they have the option of they can actually choose somebody to choreograph with them, to be like, we had people co-choreograph. I had 2 students that said, "Can you make something for us to do, like rather than choreograph? We want to focus on performance." So I mean, there are options within it.
It was an incredible It was, I think there were, the one that I went to, maybe there were 10, I think with 10-minute performances. And these are 10-minute performances beginning, and each told a beautiful story. And I think what I was most impressed, I mean, Joelle actually had auditioned for it, and I think she had gotten into 2 or 3 of them, and then she chose to do one just because of her schedule.
Yeah.
But it was really impressive to watch them and the stories that they told, and you know that they're going to have these great futures. And everybody coming out of studio dance or competitive dance, they've learned so much in that path. But I feel like coming into SDSU, there's this other path that you may learn at another place or maybe not, but we didn't come across it when we were auditioning for other programs.
Yeah.
What would you say at SDSU when they're coming in for the audition? What makes some of those dancers stand out? So now you're auditioning them. What are you looking for, and why choose one over the other? What did the other one maybe not give you in that audition room?
Like visible signs of disengagement will absolutely eliminate you.
Yeah.
Like that sort of eye rolly, like
this isn't me.
Yeah, really, it's kind of interesting because there are 3 of us who are the main studio faculty that administrate the auditions, and all 3 of us gravitate towards different kinds, which is nice. So we get a nice mixture. And for example, if there's somebody that I really thought was interesting, that I thought would really benefit by the program, but the other 2 didn't agree, we trust each other. I'm like, okay, that's mine. That one. I'm using my get out of jail free card. This one's coming.
Your golden buzzer.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, and we do that, and we respect each other enough to know that we all have our own kind of biases, preferences, et cetera, et cetera. So, and to trust the other people when they see something that maybe we missed. Your daughter stood out immediately. She's tall.
5'11".
Yeah, she's 5'11". And I've noticed that oftentimes dancers are generally much smaller.
They are.
Even the men. And we have very different kinds of physics. Like our body mechanics are radically different than somebody who's shorter. And I always see one and I'm like, oh, yeah, that one I could help. Because I've spent a career solving some of those issues. We're not looking for a thing. We're looking for a combination of things. But what will eliminate you quickly is some kind of disengagement, or just way too much. Like when somebody's trying way too hard and they're kind of too in your face, in ways that are just
desperate.
Yeah, like
me, like it's the me factor versus the we factor.
Or arrogance. But, arrogance isn't something I've rarely seen. Mostly they just really want you to pick them, and it's actually heartbreaking because, just every once in a while somebody will come through and you're like, it just breaks your heart. Like clearly they're not ready to enter a program of that level, but they just want to.
Oh, I saw it. I mean, I even saw it in competitive dance where you had different kids wanting to be chosen on the call out dances when you go to convention and they call out the dancers and you see those people standing in front staring at the choreographer like me and you could feel it. You don't even have to hear it. You could completely feel it. And it is sad when they don't always get called out. And I've done an interview with a choreographer and said, what makes you pick them? And he said that it's really changed over the years. Like originally used to be like the best dancer, but he's actually started to pull out people now that might not be the best dancer and they just need that vote of confidence and they were hungry enough and he calls them out and it's not about if they make a mistake or not. It's because they want it and they're hungry. And I love that. I happen to really like that answer because it isn't always about the best.
Well, the best according to what?
True.
You know, like
True.
like we have students that come in with very strong traditional technique, but they have no presence. They have no attention span. They have no feeling for they're good at the thing that they trained in,
Mm-hmm.
and they aren't good at the other things.
Wow.
So, you know, and by the way, that's fine. If you were great at everything, why go to college? Go to New York. Go to LA. Right.
Go
go
more
dance.
into a conservatory or
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be an educational
Right.
program,
It doesn't
right?
have to be. Not everybody needs to get a university degree.
And do you suggest for people who are going, whether it's for their B.F.A. or B.A., is it possible to do a B.F.A. and have a minor in something else?
Absolutely.
And would
Happens
you
all the time.
And would you suggest that as a good path for somebody?
I would say I do. As a matter of fact, the reason why is because here's the thing: people tend to think of dance as kind of this non-academic discipline amongst all these other hard, things. But we've had people that have come through and gotten their degrees in business and BFAs in dance, and they're like, I learned way more in the dance program because of how we work, the way we engage with the students. We're cultivating capacities that are useful across any aspect of life and any discipline. If you are learning Excel and that's all you know, you're going to have a rough time in life.
Agreed, 100%.
Right? Particularly in the world that's coming with the kind of challenges we're having with, then AI and we thought it was a big deal when Tower Records disappeared.
Blockbuster.
And Blockbuster and all these other things. And, the world that you're going to need people that are good problem solvers and are adaptive learners. Our students are great at that.
Right. And I see it. I mean, I'll call Joelle and she'll be like, I'm locked in. I'm doing homework. I'm like, for what? And she's like, I have to videotape myself sleeping. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, it's all about movement and breathing. Mom, I have to go. And I'm like laughing, but she's locked in. She's learning and she's exploring a path that she didn't have before. She didn't know about before. And she's feeling safe from it and expanding. And I see it in her movement. I went to a convention with her back in April, and it was so exciting because I hadn't seen her dance in so long. And I think that parents that go with their kids all through high school and junior high school, and from the time Joelle was dancing, from the time she was 2 and started competitively at 7, I really missed seeing her dance. So when I got to see her, I was a little bit concerned because I'm like, wow, because she's not in studio dance anymore, can she still move? And the absolute opposite. Movement like I never saw before because she was in touch with all of that and everything she learns, and I was able to see that, and it was exciting. But there are a lot of parents out there that are going to feel very similar to me when their kids go into college for their first year and they don't get to see their kids dance and they don't get to travel with them, and it's a very big adjustment period for parents as well. As kids, we're talking about kids that are in high school now that are getting ready to go to college. Is there anything particular that you think that they should be focusing on, whether it's in studio dance, competitive dance, outside of studio and competitive dance, to get ready for college dance? Like, what are some of the things that they should be doing, whether it's physically, whether it's mentally? Like, what are those things? What does that look like?
Well, first of all, I would recommend they Google stalk the professors at the universities they want to apply to. Like, find out something about them. When you're in high school, it's called Google stalking. When you're in college, it's called research. It's a way of finding out, like, what are they moving in ways that I find compelling?
Good.
Like,
good.
is this a play
Really?
I want to? Does that look interesting? Or don't go somewhere where they're going to they do everything that you already do well. I actually have students choreograph dances and ask them to use all the things they avoid doing.
Love that.
Because that's how they get better at them. Like, the things that you think you suck at, put in there because you're going to work harder.
And also
We suck at 'em
develops
'cause
you. It develops the part of you that, if you're just good at what you do and then you plateau, it's like continue to challenge yourself because without knowledge there is no growth, right? So I always say you need to continue to challenge yourself, otherwise it gets boring and stale, and you have to evolve.
well, the other thing too is the field itself changes over time. What was popular when I was a young up and coming dancer is not what's popular now. So you have to be able to, they use the word versatile, but I think adaptable. And if you're only trained in one way, whether it be dance or thinking, the moment the landscape shifts, you're going to be suffering from a lot of cognitive confusion. Like you won't know what to do.
So you bring up the fact that dance is shifting. Does SDSU's dance program have plans to shift as that shift is made?
Yeah, well, that's the nice thing about SDSU. So, for example, we're actually one of the smaller programs. If you look at some of the big schools um, that have a lot of faculty and 120 students, first of all, the students get very little exposure to the professors because they're, there's so many professors, they may have you once in 4 years. Here, like right now, with you, for example, just as a practical example, Joelle, I've only had her in one class and it was first year seminar. I won't have her until she's a junior. But once she's a junior, I'll have her a lot for the next 2 years
That's
in my
awesome.
classes. Right. So we have extra areas that we're more interested in teaching in and have more expertise and have done more. The faculty are lifelong learners. Right? We're constantly learning new things. We're constantly going to see what's going on and also still making things that are going on. I mean,
So to put out a dancer from SDSU, and if I could wave a magic wand, what is that? And I know there's no such thing as perfect, so I'm not using the word perfect, but what does that graduate look like? Like the quintessential graduate, like what would be all of the characteristics that they would have and would make you proud?
oh, well, I can actually, I literally just spoke with one of our graduates this morning. She's at American Dance Festival and one of the largest summer dance festivals in the States during the workshops. And we've got actually 2 students there. Both of them were accepted in this kind of prestigious program.
Amazing.
What do I think, like best case scenario?
Hmm.
They have a deep sense of themselves. They become much more aware. They're in love with dancing. They're curious about everything. Like the curiosity is indispensable, I think, to living a good life. They're permeable. Like they know where they stand, but they're not cemented there. Like because the one constant there is change, and even they're self-starters. They're doing it not because they're going to get an A or not because someone's going to pat them on the back, but because they truly are curious and interested about the thing they're doing. Like that's the thing. Because if my job was only to send kids into professional companies, then most professors, with the exception of a few who are in major universities like Juilliard, would be very dissatisfied because it's a hard field to get into major companies in. Like there's literally, you go to an audition in New York City for a major company and there's going to be 250 girls.
And some of them all look the same.
Not only
Same height, same hair, same outfits. They're all the same. So how do you stand out?
And likewise in the commercial world.
Yeah.
Like it's the thing. So you have to be able to love what you're doing first, because if it's only about the carrot, you're going to wash out fast. You won't have a sustainable career. But if you love it, you'll find your way in. You may start a company. You may open a studio. We've had students that have gone
You may
on.
do a podcast.
Yeah, we have students that have gone on to graduate school in multiple fields. We have students that are in New York working. Some of them are working in nonprofit. They're doing all these things, and every one of them came in thinking they were going to be, on Broadway or this thing. and there's only so many slots on Broadway. So if you're not one of those few people that gets on Broadway or makes it into the next movie, one of the few movies that has any kind of movement in it at all, then you feel like you're not having a career. And there's so many ways to have a career. And so we want to prepare our students to be in the world and know how to successfully navigate a very complex world, but also an industry that is varied, and you don't want to just get stuck in one pigeonhole. First of all, it's boring. And second of all, if you're in for the long haul, your career is going to evolve as you do.
Well, it's evolving. It's that consistent growth. And, even I work in software, even in what I do for a living, if I'm not continually evolving in what I do, I'm stale and I'm washed up and the train has left the station. So, I teach my kids that all the time. It's like, you have to, like, what's the next thing? Like, and that comes from passion, not just because, oh, check in the box. If you're just doing a check in the box, that's not going to.
Well, it's also not just about employment, though. It's about having a life that you feel is like, we have average lifespan of 70 something years, right?
So scary.
80 something. It can get longer. It's not going to change the fact that we have a very limited amount of time here. And I know for myself, like, I need to feel useful. Like, I have to have a sense of purpose, and I want to have meaning in my life, right? Don't we all want it to, like, feel like there's a reason, not metaphysically, but just like, I'm on this planet, and, it's a short time. I think I'm not a religious person, but, if you just took everything from the time the Big Bang happened to me and you sitting here right now, infinite number of things had to happen in just the right way for us to do that. That's all the wonder I need, right? So if I'm going to spend my life doing something, I want it to mean something. And one of the things that with these kids, they're all human beings.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing we acknowledge about them. Like, that is the first thing. These are all somebody's kids, right?
And I mean, it's competitive. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Everybody that's applying to schools know how competitive it is. And I think that sometimes it doesn't always bring out the best in people, and sometimes it brings out the best in people. It's everybody's on their own path. And we saw that when we were going through the whole process. I mean, there were some really competitive people out there. We saw them at all the auditions, and the mother screaming at the kid and overstretching the feet. And then, when I remember when she was auditioning for SDSU, we were in the courtyard with a bunch of other parents. I thought this mom was going to have a nervous breakdown in the middle of the courtyard because she's like, I don't know if she's going to get in. She only has a 3.4. I don't think that's enough. This is her dream school. I'm like, breathe. Like, just breathe. Like, it's going to be okay.
I really wish I knew who that was.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to tell you because I do know who it was. But
did they get in?
They did get in. They did get in. And that I do want to point that out. Not every school, like some schools, you have to get into the school before you could even go for the dance program.
Mm-hmm.
In other schools, going in through dance actually helps you get into a school that your grades might not be efficient.
You might otherwise not get into.
Correct. And I believe SDSU, because we've spoken before, if somebody may not have like the grades that SDSU is looking for to get in, I'm not saying complete bomb, but maybe not right there. If they do really well at the dance audition, the dance department does have the ability to go to admissions and to help that person get in and advocate for them.
If they meet a certain threshold for eligibility, yes.
Correct.
But the other thing is like a lot of times students will have to write the essay before the audition.
Well,
ours right after it.
Well, no, it's both, because we had to write an essay. I remember. Well, but did we have to write an essay to get into SDSU? No, we just applied, right?
Yeah.
I think.
And then there's the audition, and then we have what we call the second phase.
Correct, which no other school had, by the way. And I want to talk about that for a second, because they went for the audition. Joelle auditioned. Then afterwards, we got an email saying that there was interest, but the next part of this is that she needed to write an essay and talk about why she wanted the program. And there were a lot of questions that really adhered to, after she went to that audition, what were her feelings about it? Why did she feel that she would be successful? There were many different questions. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but found it interesting because it kind of separated who really wants to go and who doesn't?
It's actually intended to do that. One is some people that maybe were on the bubble at the audition. If they're writing, if they've been reflective and thoughtful about what they're writing and actually put in the effort, that can really change it. Like it'll flip it. Whereas on the other hand, people that are very I'm just doing this because
Check in the box.
Or we also say if you don't want to come here after this audition, just opt out of the second phase.
Perfect.
You're taking somebody else's slot. Don't come here.
And that's something I want to talk about as well. It stood out to me. So after they auditioned for you, you invited the families, the parents into the room, and we got to see what you had worked on in the room. And I do remember one of the professors talking about very sternly, if this isn't for you, don't take the spot. Meaning some people use these opportunities to get into a school they might not have gotten into before.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take a spot from somebody who really, really wants to be there. And because you only have a certain limited amount of spots, they get into the school, and after the first semester or the second semester, they leave the program. I'm going to go be a pre-law major. I'm going to go be a psychology major.
I can tell you where most of them go to comm.
To communications, right.
And that's got the reputation of being it's not a horrendously difficult degree.
Correct.
Expect 17-year-olds, because most of them are 17 when they apply to college, to know where they want to be for the rest of their lives. Making a decision. It's ridiculous. College should be a place where there is some flexibility to move and try things. Of course it should be that way.
But on the other hand, they do take somebody's spot that really wanted to be there.
And also there's just this, a lot of it they haven't matured enough to think it through. Some of these kids would be so far better served by going to community college for 2 years and then transferring to a 4-year if that's what they decide to do. But there's so much pressure on young people. Like we're so worried about, oh my God, if I don't get this figured out now, I'm going to be a failure in life, which just isn't so. Like it doesn't.
So what do you wish parents would know? Like what advice would you give to parents that are navigating this for their upcoming freshman college?
Just have a really open conversation with our kids about like both the mother of my children and my ex-wife, have advanced degrees. Our kids just assumed that they had to do that. And I just, wait a minute, let's figure out what you want to do. Because this is not about what we want you to do or what you think we want you to do. We have to figure out something you're going to do. Otherwise, you're going to suck at it. You're going to resent it. You're not going to do well. And you're going to create a kind of dynamic in your life that is not healthy for you. So let's just have an open conversation about this. And by the way, if you change your mind later, that's also part of what happens. It's a hard thing for parents to do because we want
there's also a really big investment, right? So as being a parent that I invested in Joelle since the time she was 2, we went on this whole dance journey. I was away over the weekends and in a swimming pool talking to this mom, and she had a daughter that was competing at nationals at Radix in San Diego, which is happening right now. And, her daughter was 9. And I mean, she's spending over $75,000 a year right now in dance, from privates to 15 competition dances to traveling all over for all these things.
We do that with our boys too, like football, lacrosse.
Yeah.
These kids are doing all these team sports and they're traveling, and parents are spending a ton of money on a decision a kid actually didn't get to make in the first place.
Well,
right? And
did they?
They may have liked it when they were a little kid, but now it's become the prescribed road for them.
Correct.
And
and you see parents devastated when their kid says all of a sudden, I don't want to dance. What do you mean you don't want to dance? I just spent God knows what. I'm not even going to say it out loud. I spent God knows what, and you don't want to dance. I mean, thankfully for me, I have a kid that was screaming more for dance. Like she was dancing in my belly, and I don't think she'll stop ever. Like she just loves it that much. But I mean, I think that having a really heart-to-heart conversation with your dancer and really understanding, because if they don't have that passion, they're not going to be able to stand up anything in this path anyway. I mean, there's a lot of rejection, there's a lot of ups and downs and roller coasters, and you have to be able to push forward, push past it to go.
I've been actually, my daughter's finished her master's degree in cello performance, and she's like now at a point where she's auditioning for symphony orchestras in different cities. And, you show up with your cello and you're one of 125 other people there with their cellos for one slot. And I said, sweetheart, you have to understand this because the no's are demoralizing to people when they hear no.
Oh, it's devastating.
I said, but here's the deal, kid. The higher you aim, the more no's you're going to hear.
And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I say that all the time. And I also, I have a pillow. I say it all the time. Don't let anyone dull your sparkle. Like you have to have that confidence within. And that doesn't just happen. That's you have to have a lot of rejections until you get that yes, and vice versa. And I think that if you let that negativity in, you'll fail. But the thing is, if you didn't have the passion to begin with, how could you even know without going? I mean, your daughter with cello, Joelle with dancing, might be somebody in football, my son with water polo. It's what you want to follow. But the parents specifically, when we're getting to this point where you're applying for colleges, and true, 17-year-old doesn't have to have it all laid out. I'm 50 something and I still haven't figured it out. I mean, I woke up one day and said, we're podcasting. I mean, who knows what I'm going to wake up next year and say, but it's evolving and finding whatever that is. And if you're not doing it, you're not growing, period. That's the way I see it.
And by the way, I want to be clear about something. I'm not suggesting handing a 12-year-old the keys to their lives. I mean, but we can discuss things. And part of that is just learning, helping to cultivate their ability to think critically. The thing I want to know is if I drop dead on my way down these stairs today, that my kids are going to be okay.
God forbid, don't say that.
But you know what I mean.
Yes, completely.
I love a little hyperbole every now and again.
That's a little dramatic. No, we're not going. We're not going there.
I am in the theater.
A theater. Sorry.
But I want to know that they're going to have they use that term grit or resilience, the adaptability. I want to know that
they're okay.
They're going to be okay. It's not going to be fun.
I think that's what every parent really, at the end of the day, wants for their child. Bringing it back to programs like dance programs in different colleges, what do you think some red flags are that parents or dancers should look at? Or maybe it's not using the word negative as a red flag, but what are those key things they should really be considering or think about before they immediately put their application in and say go?
I think that kids are applying to God knows how many schools at this
20,
point. But it's
22.
a question of when you end up, at the end of the day, when you end up with certain choices. Most of the students that end up going to a school for a degree in dance oftentimes have more than one option, right? So they're looking for fit. I think, it depends on how much exposure they got to the faculty that will be spending 4 years with them. But if there was something like, look, I love dancers that work hard, but I also recognize that working hard can look a lot of different ways. I would look for, let's face it, dance is like any other walk of life, and there can be manipulative people that don't have your best interest in mind. It's really about them, how they.
But how do you find that out before you apply to a program?
You can't know that before that you would do that, but you're going to audition and presumably have some exposure to people. Yeah. Well, again, the Google stock, most of us have some kind of a public profile. You can find out what they said.
Or people that go there. I think that's also what we did. Like when we were investigating programs, because we've been in the dance world for so long, we knew other people who were attending different schools, whether it was NYU, whether it was PACE, so many different programs, but we were talking to other kids we knew that were dancers and asking them for their opinion of what their first year experience was. What, did they find the program, push them? Was there growth? Was it all focused on one genre versus multiple
Right.
genres, commercial dance versus non. I mean, so those were things that we did. But I was asking you, is there anything specific, like being a faculty member and advising so many kids over the years? Was there something that you think that if, looking back, maybe kids should be really thinking about when they're applying to the system that maybe you didn't think about years ago?
Yeah, I think most of the time when students have trouble, it's because oftentimes they didn't do their homework before they went to college.
Okay.
What I mean by homework is checking in, like, is it, they let the name of the school become more important than what they actually are going to learn there, or how, or the people that
The
they'll be
bragging
learning
rights.
with, the bragging rights, the validation.
Yeah.
I would say that, but that's on the students a lot of times. Um, I mean, and they come in with a lot of ideas about things because they've just spent the last 12 years in a system that promotes conformity and a kind of obedience. And then you go to college. Now, the big in this this has to this presumes some kind of contact with the professor, the professors that are teaching you. But I would look out for hypocrisy, like them saying one thing but acting in another way. Like, oh, this isn't about this, but then really it is. And young
Being
people,
able to read through the lines and,
yeah,
and be able to,
right, not project a bunch of, excuse my language, but horse shit, like
right.
conjecture, but to like really notice, like, are the actions matching the rhetoric? Are they really here for us, or is that because everybody's going to say that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like the essay piece of it, when people are writing essays for the schools, are you able to, I mean, how many people read the essays? Like,
The essays that they turn in
yeah.
at the second phase ones,
Yeah, is
they're
everybody,
all read.
so every person, but if there's 4 people that are on the deciding committee at SDSU,
Mm-hmm.
is everybody reading it, or each of you take piles?
We
or
take piles, and if we have anything that we want them to like, anything like, I need you to look at this, we do a
then
lot
you
of
share,
that.
you do a lot of that,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of sharing on that. And what makes an essay stand out?
Sincerity, like really saying what your experience was. If you were confused, say you were confused. Like, do not blow smoke up our ass because we're gonna spot it a
Smell
mile away.
Totally. I've read
Right.
some of the essays, and there's a site that I've seen some essays people post, and I'm like laughing. I'm like, this cannot be real that people really wrote this, and it's yeah, blowing the smoke up the ass.
At
I've
this
got to
point,
figure.
don't use AI. Like, write it. You could use AI to spell check it, grammar check it,
Right.
maybe look at like how you want it formatted. But do not, like, if somebody's asking you to reflect on an experience, literally go to a place where you can sense what your experience was and your experience immediately right after it, because that's what we're actually interested in. Because the ones that are like, if somebody could express at that age that they were confused, that's a big thing, a good thing.
I'd be totally, yeah.
Like, I found it a little confusing, and because it was
That's
because of X,
honest.
Y, and Z.
It's honest.
Exactly.
It's genuine. It's authentic. I mean, authenticity, I think, would be the key thing on those.
Just tell us what.
And it is nice to hear that the essays are being read. I'm not calling out anybody for saying that they're not read, but so much time and energy goes into these essays, and it seems to be such a deciding factor at so many of these schools. So,
yeah, it's good. It's good to ask who's reading them.
Yeah.
Or if they're reading them.
If they're reading them, that's a big thing. I mean, there are people that spend a lot of money to have people help them write essays, and counselors, and reread and before they press that send button.
Yeah.
So I do think
Also, do not write no trauma porn. Like if something really affected you, give us a clear understanding of that. But it's a little bit like when you watch some of these shows on television, The Voice, and they have and this is because of X, Y, and Z.
Oh, I was under a tunnel, and I had no lights, and I heard the water dropping, and it just gave a beat, and I started to dance under the tunnel.
In my life at that moment, it saved my
no. But there are people that do get into schools from it. So there are. I mean, somebody wrote I heard somebody got into Harvard because they wrote a essay about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So
if it was clever, that's a different thing. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it depends on the kind of program. But for example, somebody that wrote something about something that was from a very different perspective than anybody else, that's going to get noticed.
Well,
Like,
that's a key thing. So if anybody that's listening, unique, authenticity, something that's going to make you stand out that may not be, but the
but
truth is if you had a similar experience to somebody else, what I'm hearing you say is it's not going to not get them seen. It's just be your authentic self and
yeah,
not use AI to use words for you that you didn't
yeah.
feel.
Here's the big issue. Young people, because a lot of their decision making is based on two things. One is the carrot and avoidance of the stick. And they're very good at telling you what they think you want to hear. I don't want to hear what they think I want to hear. I want to hear what their experience was. Right?
Love it.
Pandering to me or any other faculty member, it's right away setting up a relationship that is intrinsically dishonest. Like, how can we actually interact as human beings to benefit, right? If we've started off on this thing where already you're not being direct, you know?
So
Does that make sense to
no,
you?
it completely makes sense for me. I mean, being on that path or being on that track, I mean, it it needs to be able to anybody should be able to pick it up and understand what you're trying to say. If everybody else reads the essay and they're not getting what you're saying, it's not translating. You want to make sure that your words translate is the way I'm hearing what you're saying.
Yeah, but also that they're your words,
Right. Well, not somebody else's
not
words.
somebody else's or what you like.
Then you're going into a program that wasn't even meant for you because it's not your who you
Right.
are.
Right.
So we're basically at the end, but I'm curious. Final thoughts.
Here's the thing that is actually that's been floating in my awareness while we've been talking, and that is, we love our kids. Like, we have real relationships with our students and really want them to succeed at what they want to succeed at.
And I know that firsthand because I have one of those students. So
Yeah.
she felt the love.
And we also really love what we do. Like, as artists, I always felt a little bit pretentious using the word artist to describe what I do, because I just like making things.
Well, isn't
And
everybody an artist of life?
Yeah,
We're all artists.
let's hope so. Yeah,
You would think we're all artists creating
it's
a
something,
life.
and if we're not, it's something to aspire to, because I think
Correct.
a life we'll live kind of demands a bit of artistry, like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But we,
So take your paintbrushes out, everybody, and start creating that artistry of life, because I think that those are the best words I could hear.
yeah, we love what we do. We love the art form. Doesn't mean parts of it don't annoy the hell out of us. Just like we love our kids and they annoy us.
Oh, help me.
You know?
Summertime.
Precisely.
Yes.
So if you really love that, if you really love what you do, and you want to be in a community of people who really love what they do and really want to support you in finding your way through it, then we're a good place to go.
Well, I think those are the best words to leave us with. So thank you so much, Joe, for being part of this journey with me. I found our time so amazing. Even the prep time when we had our first conversation, you are a true artist in so many ways. And I think that the students of SDSU are so lucky, the ones that have graduated and have had the opportunity to have you. And I think my daughter is extremely lucky that she gets to have you for the next 3 years. And, they say in life, the legacy that you leave behind, is a storybook, and it should be able to read the same way an essay is, whether you're here or whether you're not here. And I definitely think that you've created a legacy all of your own. And yes, you are an artist. So
Thank you.
don't be concerned about saying the word artist. I hope everybody has enjoyed this episode. As I always say, it's a journey. And if I only knew then what I know now, and for those of you that are applying to schools, I wish you and your dancers the best of luck. I'm hoping you were able to gain nuggets out of this. I know that I did, and I already went through the process, but I'm still learning and growing as well. So thank you so much. I hope you hit the subscribe button. Make sure to share this video. And we are continuing our college journey of getting into college for whether it's a BA or a B.F.A. So thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Don't let anybody treat you like regular glue, because you're glitter glue. You sparkle. You shine. Get it, girl. Get it, friend.